Looking for music that lifts your spirit and fills your heart? Experience the powerful sound of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square. Now streaming on all your favorite music platforms. Find the Tabernacle Choir on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Pandora. Let the music of the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square inspire you today and every day. Whether you're at home, in the car, or on the go, enjoy the beauty of their world-renowned sound anytime. The Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, streaming now.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. How about Game 4 of the NBA Finals? My guess is you've never seen anything like it because nothing like that's ever happened before. The Spurs had a 29-point lead, and they blew it. And if you think, how do you blow a 29-point lead? You must really have to work at it. You're right, especially because the Knicks, credit them for the competitiveness and coming back and getting the win. But they did not exactly cover themselves in glory. If anything, I would say maybe the 29-point lead was a little bit of fool's gold because it didn't show how good the Spurs were. I think it was really a product of how bad the Knicks were in the first half. And, I mean, as the game tightened up, I just thought whoever loses this game is going to think, I don't ever want to watch the film of this because there had to be at least 10 different ways we could have won this game. And I do want to exempt somebody. In a game full of boneheaded plays, bad plays, gagging under pressure, hideous turnovers. People were paying $40,000 and $50,000 to see this. These turnovers, you could have seen these turnovers for $5 at Valhalla High School 40 years ago. I know. I was there coughing the ball up. Thank you very much. My gosh, it was bad. But OG Anunoby inbounding the ball, and they go to double Brunson, and he takes off. And he goes all the way to the rim. If they don't block you out, go get the ball. And with the game on the line, with Brunson just launching a hopeful ball that, oh my gosh, he went full Damian Lillard over Victor Wembanyama. That shot was never going in, which makes it all the more important for Anunoby to race from midcourt all the way to the rim, time his jump perfectly and tip it in. Big time play. In a game that had a few plays that, let's face it, they were not big time. Victor Wembanyama missing 2 big free throws that could have put the game away. And then the Knicks, Brunson down 1 with like 20 seconds to go even, drives the hoop and tries to hit a float over Wembanyama. 0% chance that was going in. Curious decision, that one. And the ball gets tipped out. And naturally with the ball and the lead and time running down, 15 seconds, 14 seconds, De'Aaron Fox decided, hey, there's a really big athletic guy. I'll go right at the hoop and try to take a layup over him. Dribble out, make him foul you, take time off the clock. You had basically by the time he took the bad shot and, of course, didn't score. He was never going to. There were 10 seconds left in the game. You could have dribbled out a lot of that. Now you can say, well, he would have missed both free throws. Maybe there was enough stuff going wrong. Fox had a turnover with 2 minutes left. He threw the ball to the middle of the court. The Spurs lead was down to 1, and there's nobody there. So I don't know who he's throwing it to. Well, I mean, it turns out he's throwing it to Josh Hart. There was someone there. There was nobody there from his team. And Hart takes off for the rim, and what does he do? Gets confused between a layup and a dunk and misses a breakaway that would have put the Knicks in the lead. The number of things that went wrong in this game were mind-boggling. I got to say, the Spurs were gifted a bunch of wide-open threes in the first half, and they hit an enormous number of them. That is why they led 76-49 at halftime. That's how they built the big lead. And the Knicks came out with a lot more energy, and the Spurs just kept launching threes. Wembanyama took 3-on-1 possession. For the life of me, I don't understand it. Champagny, he was the only Spur who had a bad shooting game. His teammates were so hot, he must have thought he was hot. That's all I can figure. And so he's launching a 3, 1-on-2 in transition. Dude, take some time off the clock. You could miss a 3 15 seconds from now. He was 2 of 9 shooting, 1 of 7 for 3, but sure enough, he's launching a terrible low percentage shot early in the first half, and and helping the Knicks get back in it. It was crazy to watch. And the Knicks overcome a bunch of stuff. I don't know what Brunson and Hart were doing at midcourt when they got confused and gave the ball away in the first 2 minutes of the game as the Spurs jumped out to a 12-2 lead. Just like drop the ball in the center circle and let them run the other way for a layup. Crazy that in Game 4, this many mistakes were made. But you know what? When you're playing a terrible game, which the Knicks were, you can't quit. You got to figure out a way to get back in it, so you got to give them credit for doing that. And they did it, and they found a way to win the game. And they're up 3-1, so from their perspective, it doesn't matter how ugly it was. It doesn't matter how bad they were in the first half. They found a way to get the win. And they're up 3-1, and they're just one game away. Now, I think they're going to do it. I don't want to guarantee anything because this is not the series to be guaranteeing anything. There's too much weird stuff happening. That was the first win by a home team, 4 games in. The Spurs, who did look tired, I mean, that was a factor. Their inexperience was a factor. The lack of poise was a factor. Probably ties a lot of these mistakes together. They got a couple days to watch the film, be mad, their home crowd, come out and go nuts, win Game 5, and then the Knicks could clinch in the Garden. That would be the storybook, and it's certainly plausible, but once you've seen a 29-point lead go away and you've seen that many boneheaded plays, holy cow, who knows what to expect. Even though it was bad basketball, it was entertaining. I mean, it was dramatic, but it was it was crazy. The turnovers. And the funny thing is there weren't a lot of turnovers, but even the ones where there were unforced. And just horrific. But hey, for the Knicks, 3-1 now. 1 game to go. They got a chance to clinch it in San Antonio, Game 5, Saturday night. We got hockey tonight. We got 2-2 series, Carolina and Vegas. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. That's coming up tonight on ABC. All right, on the way. Later this morning, Matt Brown, Extra Points College Football. We'll talk with him about all the craziness at Texas Tech. Brian Geltzeiler joins us to talk NBA Finals and all things New York. That's coming up at 9 o'clock. Next, Mike Folta talking Stanley Cup playoffs. Stay with us.
Make game day yours. Tickets, food and drinks, stats, and streaming. Everything you need is in the Utah Mammoth app. Download today and make game night easy. Download on both Android and iPhone. Tusk Top.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk about the Stanley Cup Final. Mike Folta joined us during yesterday's show, so some of the yesterday, last night references will be a little off. But his bigger points about the team and about what the Mammoth might do in the offseason, all valid. Here's Mike with PK and I on the Zone. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. Hope everybody was up watching Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final last night between Carolina and Vegas. It has been an incredible series, and we had another incredible game last night. So I'm enjoying being a fan, fellas.
Another game, another 2-goal lead blown. Haven't you been calling games and thought, 2-0 lead, this is going to be really tough? And this is automatic. And these teams are supposed to be really good defensively. Are they so good defensively they're creating the turnovers that are leading to all the goals? Is that the problem?
I think there's an element of that. I think more than anything, you've just got two really good teams that are both playing with desperation, that both have big players that are coming through in big moments. For Carolina, it's been their captain, Jordan Staal. Another 2 goals for him last night. I think he's the oldest player ever to score in 4 straight Stanley Cup final games. He's 37 years of age. And then on the other side, you've got clutch players like Mark Stone and Brett Howden and of course, Mitch Marner for the Golden Knights, who is the front runner to win the Conn Smythe, the playoff MVP. But I think it's just been incredible theater. And the fun thing about it for me is that, like, everywhere you look up and down the roster, you've got players on both sides who are making incredible plays and then making mistakes. Nobody has been perfect in this series, and that's why we're excited too.
Oh, yeah, you're channeling Torts. Is that what they call him, Tortorella?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says the frustrating part for me is they didn't earn their winning goal. He's referring to a bad turnover that led to a Seth Jarvis chance. Was stopped by Carter Hart. And then he said, right after that, we made another mistake. We leave the front of the net. Oh, my gosh. Now, this is PK speaking. How the fetch can you leave the front of the net? Isn't that basic hockey, Mike?
Is that PK or is that like George Costanza right there? Jerry, how do you leave the front of the net, Jerry? The front of the net. It is crazy because both teams are so good at defending the front of the net. Like, that's Vegas' thing. They defend the house. They'll let you possess the puck a little bit. We saw when they played Utah in the first round, the Mammoth at times had trouble getting to the inside of the ice, as we call it, that area right in front of the net. But yeah, Vegas has been like as good as the Golden Knights have been in big moments, and they're so poised throughout games. They never seem phased. There's never any panic, and for all of that, they have been so imperfect that that's why they trailed Utah in the series. That's why they trailed Anaheim in the series. That's why they're tied at 2 right now with Carolina. Like they have this habit of kind of making silly mistake. Now, part of that is the way that the Hurricanes play. I mean, it's just wave after wave of pressure, and it's kind of like a football team that blitzes you all the time. You can beat the blitz, but if you hesitate for a moment, you could turn it over. You could get sacked, a negative play. So with all that pressure, like eventually the dam breaks, and most teams make mistakes. That's why Carolina's reached the final. And they're doing it to Vegas, too. So the Hurricanes deserve a lot of credit on that front for forcing those mistakes with the tenacity with which they play.
How much did you enjoy what turned out to be the winning goal? I mean, you're just talking about sheer effort, stumbling, tripping, lunging, falling to the ice, and somehow slapping that puck into the back of the net. It's not the prettiest goal, but in a way, it's gorgeous.
It was incredible, and somewhere that's going to be framed, that still shot of Jordan Staal on the ice, knocking that puck in. That's going to get framed, and it's going to be in a bunch of Raleigh man caves. And it's probably going to be in the North Carolina press box at the Lenovo Center as well, because that was an incredible moment. And PK kind of mentioned it. It started with Seth Jarvis forcing a turnover, and Jarvis is a guy who has been a little bit snake-bitten in these finals and in the playoffs in general, hasn't made as much of an impact along with some of Carolina's other top guys that head coach Rod Brindamore would have hoped. He did have an overtime winner in Game 2, but he just makes an incredible play. He's taken on like 3 Golden Knights. I think Ray Ferraro on TV said it looked like a Golden Knights team picture in the corner. There were so many gold sweaters, but Jarvis finds a way to beat them all, just kind of keep the play alive. And then I think it was Ehlers who passed it to Staal, and that's just an incredible effort play. And that's why this series has been so incredible. You have 2 teams that are selling out every moment. And even when your legs are tired, there's not enough oxygen getting to your brain, you can't even think out there, these guys are still finding a way to make these incredible moments.
Turning to the Mammoth, Bill Armstrong making a statement as far as basically anything and everything's on the table. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know if he used that phrase, but you get the point. What level of talent do you want in return if the Mammoth were to include Njigla or Desnoyers?
I had to do a double take there. We're gonna have to work on your Canadian PK. So I've got T. Ginla and Caleb Denoye. The Denoye one's tough. But T. Ginla, yeah, there you go. So those are, for those of us who might not remember, those are Utah's 2 biggest prospects. Right. And to be quite honest, they're 2 of the finest prospects in the NHL. I mean, they both had incredible seasons. Tej was taken 6th overall in 24, and Caleb Denoye was taken 4th overall in 25. To be honest, guys, I don't think there's any way those guys get dealt. No. And I just and people have been speculating, and I understand why. It's fun to play fantasy hockey, but I think once guys get drafted that highly at that level, they hardly ever get traded. I mean, I went back and I was looking at this the last few years because, Cole Bagley, our good friend with KSLSports.com, put together a trade proposal for Detroit's Dylan Larkin, their captain who wants out of Hockeytown. That included Caleb Denoye in there. And I'm like, guys, the Mammoth, they see Iginla and Denoye as two of the pillars of the franchise. And I just, especially once those guys get drafted, you hardly ever see them get traded that highly, like top 5, top 6 picks. The only one that's happened recently was Cutter Gauthier, who's a really good player. He was taken 5th overall in 22. He got traded from Philly to Anaheim, but that was because he refused to sign in Philadelphia. It wasn't because he was, simply part of he wasn't just a trade chip. He asked out of Philly. So that was a unique circumstance. But you hardly ever see those high-end draft picks get traded after they're drafted and before they reach the NHL. And I think part of that's because nobody is higher on those guys than the team that drafted them. Like the Mammoth are the team that see the most value in Iginla and Denoye, I'm willing to bet. And they see those two guys as big parts of the future. So I expect Bill Armstrong to be wheeling and dealing like he does in the summertime. But I would be shocked if one of those two guys is part of a trade. And if they are, it's a king's ransom coming back to the Wasatch Front.
Totally see your logic there. And we hear how deep the Mammoth are in prospects. Is there a point where they've got so many prospects and only so many roster spots, and they got a bunch of other guys penciled in, that they need to trade some of the prospects? Maybe not the top 2, but do they have other guys you think might need to move along just because the sheer math of it doesn't work? So go get some value now, and if you trade 2 or 3 prospects, as long as it isn't the top prospects, for a vet who can play right now, somebody in their prime, not only does it make sense, they almost have to do it. Are they that deep?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say they have to do it, but that's asset management, right? Anytime you have a war chest like the Utah Mammoth do, and you can only sign 50 contracts. Like there's 20-something contracts, guys that are on the NHL roster. There's other contracts of guys who are in the minor leagues, but it still counts as an NHL deal. You can sign 50. So the Mammoth are close to that right now. So there's only so many more guys they can sign to a deal. But yeah, at some point the math dictates that you move this guy or move that guy, or there's not enough room in your system. But honestly, guys, I think this training camp's going to be a war. I think they want these young guys to compete with each other, and remember that competition is healthy too, and iron sharpens iron. And if you have a lot of these prospects competing with each other, that's going to bring out the best in them at camp and during the summertime when they need to be working. That pressure is good. And so I think you're okay if there's a little bit of overflow where, some of those high draft picks don't quite pan out, or they don't get as much of an opportunity. And also remember this, Bill Armstrong's a guy who believes in letting prospects bake in the minor leagues. He will throw that casserole in the oven until it is crispy brown. So there is no problem for Bill Armstrong with letting a guy stay in the minor leagues maybe a year, a couple years, more than what other teams would. So you can't really ruin a hockey prospect by having them play in the American Hockey League too much. It's a very competitive league. It's a hard league. And you can learn a lot of things down there. So yes, I do think at some point you start trading the future assets, whether it be a draft pick or a prospect, for players now. But I think having an overabundance of prospects is not an immediate concern because of the competition and because you can let those guys bake for a little bit.
Well, baking, that's more of the winter thing. And in the summer, we've got grilling. Do you like your hot dogs a little charred when you grill them, or what?
I can do a little charred, yeah. I don't mind that smoky flavor. You get some of the grill residue on there.
Yeah.
I had a great health missile at Davis County Golf Club the other day. Very well done with a quality bun as well.
I believe I just heard the phrase health missile.
You walk in, you pluck it off the roller, and you feel your cholesterol go up.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate you pointing out the quality of the bun because that's important. It goes hand in hand. But and I respect you, Mike, greatly, and I love having you on. But I could change my mind if you tell me you put ketchup on it.
I am a mustard and relish guy.
I love you even more, Mike.
There's no need for tomato juice on
freaking men.
That's all sugar, chemicals, and red food coloring. There's no tomato in that.
I mean, Mike, we're family now, buddy.
Yeah, I used to be a ketchup guy, like as a kid, but then I grew up.
Right.
And
right. You came to your senses.
I've seen people like just put ketchup on their hot dogs. I'm like, why don't you just dip it in water?
Wait a minute. So it's not no relish, mustard, no relish with the ketchup?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it was
That's
just
strange.
ketchup, and then no other condiments. I think that's Looney Tunes.
Yeah, those are
Joey Chestnut, by the way, I think he lives in Westfield, Indiana, which is like 15 minutes from my hometown, like right across the White River. So not surprised that he's got Midwest ties.
Speaking of your Indiana ties, are you one of those people who is staunchly against Purdue ever scheduling Texas Tech at anything again?
I got to be honest, guys. Like, the Sorsby stuff kind of blew over my head, and I checked Twitter, like, a few days after the announcement came down, and I was like, what? They're letting this guy play? What is
It's pretty much all of our reactions.
You know what it was? Actually, it wasn't Twitter. I was listening to Jake and Ben, and they were talking about it, and then like a stinger of PK came in at the a soundbite of PK talking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, they're letting this guy play, and you were going off on him, PK. I can't believe it. I just saw Nebraska and Georgia are boycotting him. Texas Tech, I think. I would love for Purdue to boycott him. I don't think we're playing Texas Tech anytime soon in any sport, but yeah, sure. Boycott the Red Raiders. That is a joke. And put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I knew that I would be because you don't put ketchup on your hot dogs. So I knew right off the bat we had a lot in common. And I mean, what a precedent it sends. Now we're going to have kids growing up gambling, and then they go on to the pro sports. Boy, that's not a problem. I don't see anything wrong with that whatsoever.
I just and maybe the Sorsby kid is a nice guy. He probably is. I have nothing against him personally, but I think we all understand why leagues and courts are so strict on this, or had been so strict on this, where if you bet on games, you're out. You're out. But it's like the 1919 Black Sox all over again.
Shoeless Joe, man. And there we have clueless Texas Tech. Shoeless Joe and clueless Texas Tech.
That's right. Oh, my gosh.
Well,
I can't believe it.
Would have impacted his mental health. It would have put him in a bad mood. Guess he's never.
Well, those are called consequences, and we all have to live with those.
Somebody's never watched Shawshank Redemption, obviously.
I'm in a bad mood every day.
Yeah, just think of poor DJ. He's got to work with you.
Yeah, I'm wrecking his mental health.
Fair.
I always thought he was nuts.
Well, that's just because I put
boycotting
ketchup
this
on
stuff.
hot dogs. But at least I put it with the mustard and the relish.
Wait. So you're a ketchup guy?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what we got out of this?
Yeah, I've been. Well, I'm currently off the health missiles altogether.
Yeah, but we haven't been on July 4th yet.
That's true.
I don't know if DJ's getting the invite to the family barbecue.
I know. When he dies, Mike, I'm thinking I'll replace him with you.
Is there anything better than like being in the backyard, sitting on a
I thought you were going to say, is there anything better than me dying? Where are you going with this, Mike? Easy, Mike.
I know where he's going.
I've got something a lot better. It's sitting on a $10 camping chair with a paper plate on your knees as you're trying to balance like the watermelon, the hot dog, and then like the Doritos or something like that, and they're all kind of running together. But God, isn't that the best?
Yeah, exactly. It's why we're American.
It's what the folks in Raleigh are doing before every Hurricanes game. They're tailgating hockey games. It's incredible.
The Utah twist is on the 4th of July. You got to find a street up on one of the benches so you can look out across the whole valley. And you will find people doing that from Payson to
Well, you can
Brigham
just go
City.
to your backyard.
No, it'll be too much ketchup. He's not coming.
You notice he didn't deny it, Mike. Yeah, he lives high up on them hills.
We'll straighten him out at the barbecue this year.
Okay.
Paycheck is why I live in Utah.
All right, Mike. You're the man. Thanks for joining us. Talking a little Stanley Cup final. It's 2-2, and Carolina's going to do it now, right?
You know what? Like, I'm just rooting for 7 games. I do kind of find myself rooting for Carolina. Vegas is they've been there before. They've won it recently. So I'd like to see some new blood. Carolina back in it first time in 20 years. So it's a great series, everybody. Hope you're all watching, and can't wait until we're playing hockey in June at the Delta Center.
Yeah, and Desnoyers is on the ice.
You would get kicked out of Quebec so quickly.
He'd never be let in. Catch him at the border.
Get this American out of here!
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there's Mike Folta. When we come back, Chris Lowe joins us, and we will talk college football. He is the senior college football insider for On3.com. Chris, right after the break. DJ and PK, stay with us. DJ and PK, we're joined now by Chris Lowe, senior college football insider for On3.com. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Good to be with you.
Well, we have so many college football questions for you, but there's one story. It's story number 1, story number 2, story number 3, story number 4, story number 5. Brendan Sorsby cleared by the courts to play at Texas Tech. How far exactly did your jaw drop when you heard that news?
I'd say probably like everybody else, every coach, AD, anybody that follows college football, because there's sort of a cardinal sin in sports. You guys know what it is. You can't gamble, certainly not on your own team, even though he didn't play when he was gambling. And I don't think even with the weaponization of courts, local courts, and we've seen that in eligibility cases, I don't think anybody thought this was coming. Now the NCAA obviously is appealing it, but everybody I talked to does not expect that appeal to be any resolution in that appeal until after the football season, which puts it all back on Texas Tech and or the Big 12. I know some people said, well, the college football playoff, is not controlled by the NCAA, so is there a bylaw that says they could preclude Tech from playing the playoff if they get in there? I don't know. There's been a lot of bluster, ADs and coaches saying they weren't going to play them. I don't think that's going to happen because it's going to cost them too much money this year. Down the road, maybe. But it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Does Texas Tech sort of cave? Because they owe the kid $5 million. Do they cave? Do they work out an agreement with him? No, we're not going to do this. But, yeah, it's with all the chaos that has gone on around college sports, I don't think anybody saw it getting to this level.
Even if it's only for show and doesn't have any teeth and is challenged and is ruled unsuccessful, whatever it might be, you think it's incumbent upon the Big 12 to just say, no, we're not going to allow this, we're suspending them?
Yes. I go a step further. And I talked about this with several colleagues of mine that are ADs at other parts of the country. I think we're to a point now where university leadership has to step up, period. I'm talking about chancellors and presidents who I think have been sort of gotten off the hook a little bit in some of these matters. Because just because you're clear in a court to be eligible to play, whether you're gambling, whether you pleaded down a DUI or an assault charge, whether you signed a pro contract and were drafted and you come back and play because the court says you can play. Well, there's nothing that says that the president at said university, whether it's Texas Tech or Alabama or Georgia or Tennessee or Ole Miss or any schools, that says, hey, we got to let him play. So there, to me, is a responsibility there. Now, I understand people say, you're naive with all the money that's being generated, the money you're paying these kids. But it is still supposed to be an institution of higher learning. And I do think a chancellor and president do have the power to step and say, no, this is not going to happen. We're going to help this kid. If he wants to stay in school and continue to get his education, his degree, we'll be there to support him. If he's got an issue like this kid clearly does with gambling, We're going to do everything we can to help him get that fixed, but he's not going to play football for us this year. Case closed.
Big 12 has the power to ban him from the postseason. They have the power to suspend him even if he gets challenged in court. Do you think that the other presidents and ADs, when they meet early next week, are going to pull all those levers? I mean, they got multiple levers here to pull them all. Texas Tech wants to go to the playoff really, really badly. If you can ban them from postseason play, which apparently in their bylaws they can, why wouldn't they?
Well, I would think that's certainly going to be the push among all Texas Tech's peers in the Big 12. I mean, it should be. You know, if I'm Kansas State or Iowa State, any of those schools in that league, Arizona, Utah, absolutely, that's what I'm pushing for. And I think I think the wheel is already turning, and we'll see where, you know, the leadership of the Big 12 is with that. There's going to be a lot of pressure. You know, even if the university leadership at Texas Tech doesn't take those steps, then yeah, I agree. I think it's incumbent upon the Big 12 to do that, and I'm not naive. I understand you got boosters, $1 million, $1 billion boosters at all these schools. You know, in the case of Texas Tech, there's one in particular, you know, who's doled out piles of cash, and sometimes it gets to be a little bit of the tail wagging the dog, and you don't want to alienate those types of money people. And there's a little bit of a balancing act there. But, yes, I still think there's going to be accountability across the board at the top of both the conference level and the university level.
Why do you think Texas Tech is pushing so hard? Because if they are, maybe they'll change their mind. But obviously they're supporting him and all that, and nothing has been said as far as them not allowing the kid to play yet. Maybe it'll come to that, because I think it's a bad look. And I hate to bring this up, but I will, because it shouldn't matter whether you're the best player or the worst player. The gambling is still the issue. But the fact is, this kid is not all world, so I don't understand why they're willing to die on this hill if that is, in fact, what they end up doing.
Yeah, and to your point, what if this was a second-team offensive guard?
Yeah.
You think they'd be fighting this hard after if everything else was the same? You know, I think you got to support your players. I mean, it's just like when somebody gets in trouble off the field. You know, yeah, you still want to sort of help those kids get a degree. And in Sorsby's case, you know, he's got and I don't make light of the fact the kid's clearly got a problem. You know, and I know he's been seeking help as a school, as a university you sign with. You want to continue to help him do that, but yes, you don't have to let him play football. And I don't know. I don't know if they feel like, you know, they're going to dig their heels in and hold on to this. You know, as I said earlier, there's money involved now, $5 million worth. He's into a contract with. I do think in most of these contracts, I haven't seen them all. There are ethics clauses that if you break those ethics clauses, then you know you forfeit all or some of the money. I mean, I think stuff like that, and maybe those conversations are being held right now between his people, his reps, and Texas Tech. I go back to what I said at the outset of our conversation. That to me, the most fascinating thing is if this truly does end up being just in Texas Tech's court, and the Big 12 doesn't do anything, the college football playoff says we don't have any bylaws that say we can't keep them from getting in. What does Texas Tech do amid all this pressure and outrage across college sports? Which, and let's be fair, and it's not necessarily gambling, although that's a whole other conversation. What was it? I think someone said there's 14,000 kids playing, I don't know if it's FBS football or Power 4 football. And this is not a whataboutism, but I think the scariest thing that scares the hell out of ADs and coaches is how many other kids are gambling regularly on football. But I think let's be clear about other schools that have had issues where kids have got in trouble and they pleaded cases down. Georgia's had a ton of kids get arrested, racing, speeding. Tragically, they had one kid die in an alcohol-related incident. You got kids that are signing pro contracts and going to court, going back and play. So everybody who's wagging the finger now, and gambling to me, though, is at the top of the list because it's a cardinal sin. People need to make sure their own closets are clean. before they get too sanctimonious.
Yeah.
Well, that's number one. That's true. I think number two is no matter how clean your closet is today, who knows what tomorrow's going to bring. So,
right, exactly.
I mean, the ads are up in the stadiums. The ads are up on TV. Everything's available on your phone. Most states, not all, but most states have legalized this. And even if they haven't, people figure they can get away with it anyway. So, and then just the sheer number of college athletes, this has to be going on. The thing is, college sports can survive this if there are consequences and the people who are seen as the grown-ups in the room take action, because there's at least 75 years of point shaving stuff out there. City College of New York, 75 years ago now, and there's been stuff pretty much every decade. So I don't see why that's going to change. But the difference is the grown-ups in the room, in this case, a local court said, 2-game suspension. I mean, hasn't it always been at least a year? Apparently, they tripped up here because the NCAA, there was some coach in Indiana who only got 30% of the games or something. I didn't know about that case. But most of the high-profile ones, including recently NFL, people get to sit down for a year, and in his case, that's his last year of college eligibility.
Yeah, and look at the Iowa kids just recently.
Yeah.
Calvin
Ridley with the Falcons in the NFL.
So yes, it's and I know I'm echoing what I said earlier. So yeah, who does stand up and say no? This is not. We're not going to do this. Like conference, school, NCAA. I think everyone's sort of waiting to see, because if the right thing is done here, and again, not just kicking this kid to the curb, as a person or as a student, but he's not allowed to play, then yeah, everybody else says, okay, there are real consequences. See what happened to Sorsby. If you gamble, you're not going to be able to play. You're going to be done for at least a whole year, because otherwise, and I think a coach said this anonymously, how do you ever know going forward what's on the up and up when games are played? Are kids, betting the under? Are they betting the over? Are they betting not to cover? I hate to even throw that out there, but those questions are going to be asked, right? I mean, everyone's going to wonder that. The health of the game, it's never going to be the same if he's allowed to play football this year for Texas Tech. Bottom line.
Yeah, especially in a sport like football at the college level. In the pro level, it seems like it's more manageable because there's just fewer guys. In the college game, you have double the amount of spaces on your roster, and to try to manage all these kids is a chore unto itself. And plus, too, now with these kids coming into enormous amounts of money, like we're talking about Love, the running back from Notre Dame, he was saying about the contract that he's going to sign with the Arizona Cardinals. He's going to put it away. He says, I've been benefiting from NIL. Quote, I'm well off. That's a phrase he used himself. And so you wonder if these kids are already getting besieged probably by a bunch of hanger-oners and people and unscrupulous agents or whomever it might be, because we hear it at the pro level. And now if gambling, then if there isn't a consequence or a severe consequence, you're just opening up temptation for young people that are already facing so much temptation as it is, compounded with the amount of money that they're making. It's just awful.
Yeah, and I'm glad you guys brought it up about the gambling advertising and, the apps, the betting sites. You can't watch a ball game anymore without seeing those ads,
no.
In stadiums everywhere. So there is a little bit of a hypocritical element here to it. And because, those advertisements and those companies who advertise are paying big money. And there's a lot of cash being generated. But no, I mean, listen, when I was 19 and 20, I made a lot of dumb decisions. No, I didn't have $4 or $5 million in my discretion, and God knows what kind of stupid decisions I would have made if I had that kind of cash. And you're right, you have people in your ear, the wrong people sometimes. You pray these guys are listening to the right people. And I think a lot of times if a kid who's 19, you're going back to some of the stuff in Georgia, and you get a high horsepower car, you never really had a car like that, and you're just sort of driving out of control, gambling. There's a lot that's different now, and That's why it's hard with the kind of money that's being paid out. I mean, if you think about it, if you're a top-tier quarterback, and this is not in any way, shape, or form me saying kids shouldn't be paid, because we're long since past that. These kids, they're the reason we go watch games. We don't watch the players to walk up and down, the coaches to walk up and down the sidelines. We go to watch the players play. And I still love the sport on Saturdays. But, a top-tier quarterback in college football is going to command $3 million plus, maybe $4, maybe $5. Sam Levitt, who transferred from Arizona State to LSU, I think is getting $6.5. So the kinds of cash that we're seeing doled out. Jeremiah Smith told me, the receiver from Ohio State, who I think is the best player in college football, said if he wanted to go on the open market this past year, I know Miami was certainly interested, which is where he's from, he could have gotten $10 million, he said. And so, and you hear the clutter, or not the chat about maybe the collective bargain model is the way to go. And I'm not necessarily saying that won't work, but if I'm an athlete right now, are you going to be on board with that? If you're making 5, 6, could potentially make $10 million? I don't know. I don't know if I would be on board with that.
Right. I do know. I would not be. I get to move every year. And it's an open market and bidding. Why would I limit that? There was a time, maybe 10 years ago, when Northwestern players wanted to do it. There was still some upside they were chasing, so there's something they could get. But now they're getting everything, so why would they agree to that? It doesn't make any sense to me at all that they would sign up for that.
Yeah. Which is why I balk at the idea that that's going to fix everything. I'm not saying it's not something that should be explored in some way, shape, or form, but I don't think it's the end-all answer. And I don't know what the end-all answer is. And it's where we are. I mean, this thing was kicked down the road. The can was kicked down the road forever. And now it really is total chaos, anarchy, as I think one president called it anarchy. And it's, Congress is involved. You got the Safe Sports, College Sports Act, but to me, anything that stunts a player's ability to move or his ability to make more money or cap what his income is going to be legally challenged. That's going to be challenged in court, and it's going to continue to happen. So, outside of a total antitrust exemption, I don't know if that's ever going to happen that the NCAA gets. I think we're seeing we have been seeing the beginning, the end to the NCAA, and what type of organization or what it looks like. Even Dabo Swinney, who back in 2014 famously said, well, they're going to pay athletes, I'll go do something else. Well, even he's saying now, well, maybe there needs to be a players association where maybe there needs to be a super league or a league that's 50 or 60 teams that have its own governance, its own commissioner, its own playoff. I do think we're going to be moving to some semblance of a model like that in college football. I don't know what the timetable is, but boy, when you have things like this happen, I don't think there's anything that's out of the realm of possibility. I really don't.
And Chris, I'm an Arizona State grad. You had to bring up Levitt, didn't you?
Yeah, and that's one of those things where you had the Liz Frank injury last year. He's had 2 surgeries, and he's making all that money. And I know Lane said he's running now, but we'll see where he is health-wise when the season starts. So even a kid like that who's had some issues injury-wise, Miami was willing to pay him, Tennessee was willing to pay him,
sure.
LSU finally got him, and he's making a ton of cash. So yeah, the movement. I think the thing if you look at that Save College Sports bill, the thing to me, the 2 things that make the most sense, and I don't know if they'll ever hold up, are the 5 to play 5. Because guys, I don't know about you, but I really don't want to watch 25 and 26-year-olds play college sports. I just don't, especially a kid who's played a couple of years of pro ball in Europe or whatever. The other thing is you said a minute ago, playing at 3 or 4 different schools. All right, I can make another $800,000, so I'm going to go here the next year and then there the next year, because the emotional attachment, and here's what I think, I know the viewership is still high and people are watching on Saturdays, but what's it going to be like 2, 3, 4 years now if this continues? Because the emotional attachment to college sports, having a team that you watch grow together for 2 or 3 years, almost the soul of college sports, we're starting to lose that.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely see it here. The two of us have been here long enough. We remember that exact scenario at the University of Utah, and obviously they won big, and they went to an NCAA title game in basketball in 1998, and that was the whole story of the 90s, watching those teams grow together and those guys, and that could never be replicated now. And the arena was packed, and people loved it. And they're not winning now, and obviously that's the biggest piece of the equation, but it's just a totally different vibe. And they got a player from that era back trying to rejuvenate that because it was so special to Alex Jensen, but even he's acknowledged, man, the rules are just so different now. It's just. Yeah. And
I tell my kids who are in the 20s, they look at me like I got 4 heads, and I know it's never going to go back to those days. But Michael Jordan played 3 years of college basketball.
Yeah.
In North Carolina. Ralph Sampson, who was the college basketball player of the year twice, played 4 years.
Yeah, Tim Duncan's not walking through that door.
Yeah, those days are over of teams like that, kids playing together and growing together. And I think that's what, as a guy going on 61, I still love the games. I get up on Saturday mornings and I can't wait. And the product is great. I'm not one of those get off my lawn guys. But the part I miss the most is seeing teams grow and seeing kids develop together and knowing, hey, this kid is a really promising freshman for us. And I can't wait to see what he does next year and how much he grows. And then the next year, we're going to get in this receiver and see those guys grow together. It's junior college every year now. And I don't know. That just does not appeal to me as much.
Chris, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
You bet, guys. Anytime.
All right, there's Chris Lowe from On3, senior national college football writer. What is trending? All the headlines are next.
Summer is all about freedom, fun, and growing up. And between the ages of 9 and 13, kids are starting to form their views about alcohol. With more independence, their still developing brains need more guidance and support than ever. That's why summer is the perfect time to stay connected and plan fun, safe family activities together. Research shows kids who spend quality time with their parents doing what they enjoy are less likely to drink underage. And when kids feel close to you, they're more likely to listen, especially when you set clear expectations. In fact, kids who drink before 15 are far more likely to struggle with alcohol later. This summer, create a no-bummer summer with fun, alcohol-free activities for your kids. Go to summer.parentsempowered.org to take a quick quiz and discover ideas tailored to your family. A little time together can make a big difference. For more information and to learn more about how to prevent underage drinking, visit parentsempowered.org.